Picture this. It's Saturday morning, you're home alone, minding your own business, when all of a sudden...
Hey you!
Me?
Yeah, how long does the average person live for?
I don't know. Yeah, I know. That came out of nowhere, and it's a little morbid and scary to think about. But at the same time, it's a reasonable question. I asked my friends, and these were their responses. How many weeks does the average person live, in your opinion?
In their lifetime, I'd say probably like 10,000 weeks.
10,000? 15,000?
Like 5,000 weeks?
Probably like 4,738 weeks.
So their answers were all over the place. And the truth is, most guessed too high. The average person only has about 4,000 weeks. Like, think about that for a second. 4,000 weeks. That's 4,000 Mondays, 4,000 Tuesdays, that's 4,000 weekends. And to be honest with you, if you're watching this, you have much less than that. For example, I am 22 years old, and with this conversion, I have about 2,900 weeks left. And I know, you might be thinking to yourself,
oh no, that's not the way to live. You shouldn't be thinking about the bigger picture. You should be focusing on how life is now, and you should be focusing on the day-to-day.
And the truth is, you're completely right about that. But let me just show you where I'm coming from. You see, I've been obsessed with nostalgia for as long as I can remember. Growing up, I used to watch the same movies over and over again, just because of how they made me feel. This one time, Nikki and I actually watched Kung Fu Panda 27, I think it was, times in 1 week. I know, it's crazy. I was also obsessed with the passage of time. I would say things like, oh, I can't believe it's been a week since this, or I can't believe it's been like 2 months since that happened.
I can't believe it. 1 week ago, Amo came to our house.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward to college, where if someone told me a date or something like that, I could tell them exactly what I did on that day, just because I've spent so much dang time in my camera roll. And just last year, I started shooting film photography in 2024. And yeah, I know, it's not cost efficient, and the pictures come out worse than digital sometimes. But there's just something about taking film photos that just makes me feel an extra something. The point is, I love living in the past because of how it makes me feel. You've already read the story, so you read it over and over again. And that means there's no twists, no turns, and nothing new. But that all changed a couple weeks ago when I picked up one of my dad's books, which is called 4,000 Weeks. At first, I didn't even open it because I thought it was going to be another one of his poem collections. But then I did open it, and I started reading the first couple pages. And I was hooked. And I'll be honest, it's the first time I've finished a book in a long, long time. But I loved it because the author, Oliver Burkeman, gives it to you very practically on how short the average human lifespan is. You see, he has this crazy British sarcasm, but he essentially says, look, you don't have much time, so spend it doing the things that really matter. In other words, just because you only have 4,000 weeks doesn't mean you should spend your day packing as much into it as you can. So really, he's just talking about quality over quantity. He says that no matter how far ahead in life you plan, there's always going to be uncertainty. So really, do it anyway, and do it now. He also says that life becomes more peaceful when you realize that nothing is really in your control. And again, you might be thinking, what? Are you crazy? There's so much in my control. I have my grades, I have my jobs, I have all this stuff. And it reminds me of this concept that one of my teachers in high school taught. So you have this circle that represents your life. Now, inside this circle are the things that you can control. Think of stuff like your relationships, your work ethic, your grades, whatever. Now, outside it are the things that you can't control. Now, think of this stuff as like the weather, pandemics, what other people think about you. Now, you can't control this stuff, so don't stress about it. Let's focus on the inside of the circle. Now, this stuff is within your control, and you can change it, so don't stress about it either. So at the end of the day, you just gotta live life with less stress. And yeah, that's easier said than done, but here's what my dad has to say on the subject.
To tell you a story from my childhood, like growing up, we had Diwali and we would get like some amount of money to buy crackers, and it was not enough. Like we were not that, we didn't have much money that time. We were 4 kids, so I would think once I grow up, I will have so much money, and I will buy so many crackers, you know. But turns out I have money now, but the joy isn't there. Yeah. So I would say, like, if you can prioritize joy over other stuff, right? I think that's what I learned.
Okay, now what am I saying all of this on camera for? The truth is, I spend so much time scrolling on social media, and every time I delete Instagram, I just use it on my laptop. The irony of it all is that I procrastinated making this video for a long time. I kept punting it to the next week, but then I read this book and it made me think, like, wow, I really got no excuses. Like, trust me, being on this side of the camera really freaks me out. Like, I have no idea what you guys are gonna say, what you guys are gonna think, but I realized that, that feeling is never gonna go away, and that maybe I have to create in spite of that. So that brings me to the present day. How am I gonna live from now on? 4,000 weeks really isn't that much time, but at the same time, it's 4,000 more weeks than 0. And if you know me, you know that I'm a serial overthinker. I spend my days thinking about the interactions that I've had and thinking, like, oh, was I the best person I could be in that moment? And now I'm throwing it all out the window. And that's not to say I'm purposefully gonna try and be a bad person, but I understand that I have my limitations, and there's no point in ruminating about them. So really, there's no monumental shift or big change that I'm gonna make coming out of this. What I really do want to do is start spending my time with purpose. And I want to be present in everything that I do. And yeah, it's not always going to be exciting. Sometimes that can mean being present while reading a book, or even like walking to work, or even just like sitting there and thinking. But I just want to be fully there and experience it without having any distractions. And yeah, it might be like a little tough, especially in a world that's kind of taught us to always think about what's in the future and what's 10 yards down the line. But I gotta start somewhere.